to the Pitcher Nail Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, JGilbo11. With me is Russell Clay, at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at pitching on FanDuel and DraftKings tonight. As far as cash game options, it's pretty limited, but you do have a lot of cheap options you can kind of go with if you want to build some bats in your lineup.
Yeah, another fun one. I like 9-game slates, I think, the most. Pretty much regardless of how it works. Just in terms of tournaments, I think it makes it a really fun, it's like a little tight-knit group. You're like, yeah, but there's still a ton of options, so I always love these.
Yeah, perfectly describes it. Tight-knit group for tonight's 9-game slate. First one here, you got Nationals and Phillies. Adam Morgan taking on Gio Gonzalez. Nationals minus 185 favorites. Phillies projected for under 4 runs. Given their numbers against lefties this year, Gonzalez has had good success against them. I don't mind, Gio and cash on DraftKings. Obviously, FanDuel, I still think Kluber's just the easy cash game play and you move on. But as far as SP2s go, I don't mind Gonzalez here.
Oh, man. And they're really making us question our morals here with Gio because I think you just kind of have to. Not that you have to, but it's a good matchup for him. He pitched well his last 2 starts, so he's pretty much giving you he's serving it up for you. So if he gets shelled, we're all going down. We're all going downhill with him. 8,400 on DK, sure. I'll do that in cash on DK.
Yeah, you look at his second half's been very solid. 3.20 ERA, holding teams to a 276 WOBA. Decent strikeout upside there with Philly. So I'm certainly okay with him. Obviously, Gio Gonzalez is never really a strong cash game option for me, but I think just on tonight's slate with the matchup, given there's kind of a lack of SP2 options outside of using Kluber, he just kind of makes the most sense.
Certainly.
As far as Adam Morgan on the other side goes, he's an easy fade for me tonight. I like way too many of these Nationals bats against him.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the case with me. I put the Nationals in the stacking article, so check out that. But, yeah, I think we're looking at some good returns. Even though the group is super high stacked, the top 5, I think we're certainly looking there.
Yeah, definitely. Blue Jays and Orioles next year. Aaron Sanchez versus Giovanni Gallardo. Obviously, Sanchez is a bit cheaper than where we've seen him at in the past. I'm still a little hesitant in this matchup. I think he can have a decent start. I'm not quite sure how much exposure I'm going to get to him. Just in that ballpark, obviously he's been kind of up and down a little bit of late, but we know that ceiling and we know that strikeout rate of Baltimore that gives him a little bit of upside, but I don't know if I can get behind him in this start.
I'm not in on this. I want to be. I really want to be. I love that price on DK, but I don't know, man. The Orioles haven't been great in the second half, but I don't like going at them, I just don't. I feel like there's so much upside and so much power just randomly sitting there waiting. It's like, why am I poking the bear tonight, It's kind of like, maybe he's still going to hibernate after I'm poking him, but there's a good chance he wakes up and he just kills me, Yeah,
I can't get behind. If he had a little bit of a higher strikeout rate, if he was pushing near 23, 24, 25, maybe I'd be a little bit okay with it. But average swing strike rate, I don't know. I think he's just going to have kind of an average start. I don't quite know if he's going to get shelled, but I just don't know if that upside's really enough there for me to take the chance on.
Right. Deep tournament guy, it doesn't take much standard to be a deep tournament guy, but at the same time, I think you want to limit your exposure at the very least.
Yeah, and I think he's more just a DraftKings play than a FanDuel play.
Yep.
So, Gallardo on the other side, not a guy who I'm looking to use. Cheap arm, obviously, but tough matchup against Toronto. Gallardo obviously coming off a horrible start against the Yankees, but he's been pretty much bad all year.
All set with this, yeah. We can pass the Dachi.
Sure, yeah, we can do that on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Angels and Reds next here. Brandon Finnegan versus Ricky Nolasco. I don't want really a piece of either of these guys. I know Finnegan's coming off of a really strong start against Diamondbacks where he just had immense strikeouts. But overall, I don't think we see that again against an Angels team that doesn't strike out a ton. I actually like some of these Angels bats against Finnegan.
Oh, the fear has set in, folks. The Angels have gotten to Jason.
No, they
He's
have not.
officially
Finnegan
done.
is not a
He's
good pitcher.
afraid. He's reeling, folks.
Finnegan is not a good pitcher.
Well, he's at least the tournament guy, though. No,
Not for me.
okay. He's a tournament guy for me. Obviously, not a perfect matchup, but I think at 82 on DK, you can look at him as an SP2. Not looking at him on FanDuel. Again, gonna be tough to get away from Kluber tonight. Just with the way things have shaken out, but I don't know, man. I think Cole Calhoun, he's been streaking. He's getting you a little nervous. The knees are shaking a little bit. That's okay. Hey, that's okay, man. Max Kepler literally gave me a seizure, so.
It's Finnegan's 1.65 home runs per nine. It's his over 5 Sierra. It's his hard ball rate. That's what I'm not in on. I'm unless he's facing a really weak team against lefties. Finnegan's not usually a guy who I'm looking to use.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So, and as far as Alaska goes, I know the Reds struggle on the road, and obviously they have struggled in this series so far. But I'm not looking to use Alaska. He's never really a cheap guy that I can stomach using.
Oh, and shout out to Matt Fritz, the golfer. He's been tracking my Jason Worth calls over the last, thankfully just a week or so. But yeah, obviously I liked him yesterday, and he went 0 for 5 or whatever he did. So I think I've decided I'm just done making Jason Worth evaluations. I'm just knocking the wood. I'm getting up from the table, and I'm out.
I think you should just let me handle that one today.
I agree. Well, we already went through the Nationals, but
well, that was on the pitching.
Yeah. I dig. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Jason Worth, it's a reverse jinx thing with you. I mean,
I gotta do the you gotta walk away from the table.
Twins and Indians next year. Corey Kluber versus Pat Dean. Kluber monster favorite minus 285 there at home against Pat Dean, who should be giving him plenty of run support with these Indians bats. Hard really not to like Kluber in all formats in the cash game play of the night, because really, as far as elite arms go, he's the only one.
More like Jimmy Dean after tonight. No, as I mentioned, Kluber top cash option on both sites. I don't think that's particularly tough. With price considered, I think this is just really easy. It's not like Scherzer where he was like 13K or something insane. Twins projected for 3 to 2.5 runs depending on where you look. Minus 285 favorites for the Indians. You gotta, they haven't been hitting lefties that well, but I'm not too worried about Pat Dean, stuffing up the run support here for the Indians tonight. I think this is about as easy as it gets.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, for one, you got to go back to July 3rd when Kluber allowed more than 3 earned runs. And then since that span, he's only allowed more than 2 earned runs twice. So, I mean, he's just been a model of consistency of late, especially in the second half. 25% strikeout rate. I mean, the Twins offense, middle of the road against right-handers. That strikeout rate takes a big jump on the road. And they've been kind of falling back down to earth a little bit here. I know they got to Tomlin pretty quickly last night, but outside of that, they haven't really done a whole lot over maybe the last 10 games or so.
Yep, definitely agree.
And as we've kind of been hinting, Pat Dean, not an option.
No, he's going to get sauteed and thrown with some home fries, and it's going to make a nice breakfast sandwich for you.
Well, now I'm hungry for breakfast.
Yeah.
Marlins and Mets next year, Bartolo Colon versus David Phelps. And David Phelps is probably going to be a guy who a lot of people look at and just kind of scoff at after his last start. I think that was one of the major downfalls. I don't think he could handle the industry pressure. That's what it was. Cover boy places. I mean, people were touting him up. I mean, we were. I mean, it was hard not to. I mean, with the stretch he was having. So the matchup, I think people are going to be off of him here, but I actually don't mind him as kind of a GPP guy if he can figure it out, because I know that ownership's going to drop from where it's been over his last few starts.
He certainly felt the pressure of that DraftKings price, that's for sure. I like this. I think it's definitely too high. On this slate, though, I kind of like it. Obviously the Mets have just been going insane of late, but I kind of like this as maybe a regression day. Obviously, we love the two previous starts for Phelps. So I'm okay with this. I think this is a worthy gamble on maybe not on FanDuel. I think it is though.
6,700, I can get
I
behind it in
think
a
it is.
GPP.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this game is pretty close to a pick 'em. I feel like both these guys. I mean, Bartolo Colon's not a guy who I'm looking to use. I don't think there's really any strikeout upside there with him tonight. He's not facing the Phillies that are striking out a ton. He's not facing other teams like that. So I don't really see him getting past 5 strikeouts. So I'm just kind of avoiding Colon. I'd rather take the shot with Phelps.
Yeah, and I guess the question with paying down at pitching tonight is, do you think it's worth paying up for all these random stacks? Like, I like a lot of these lineups, but I'm not sure that the full stacks or anything are going to pay off. I feel like it's a lot more one-off type of situations that I want to pay for rather than the full thing.
So I mean, 3 stacks for me that I would pay down at pitching for would probably be Toronto, Washington, and Chicago. Outside of that, I'm in complete agreement that I feel like I can get one off because even the Cleveland stack, I feel like I can still pay up at pitching and get.
Yeah, I just wonder about like Chicago. Like I like that stack, but don't I probably just want Rizzo and Bryant from that group today?
I don't know. I mean, I like Fowler. I like Zobrist. I mean, Hayward's even worth a look in my opinion.
Well, I guess that's a discussion for a different pod.
I guess so. Drew, and we transition into go check out our DraftKings and FanDuel pods.
Yes. And like and subscribe to our channel.
Yes. Padres and Braves next here. Paul Clemens versus Matt Whistler. Matt Whistler coming off a tremendous start in Arizona, which was a little bit surprising. I mean, first game back from being recalled in a tough matchup in a tough ballpark, and he threw pretty well. I'm not going to knock him in a GPP just because you look at the San Diego offense. I mean, near a 25% strikeout rate against righties. Turner Field, but know that Whistler is significant downside. It's just kind of there is a wide spectrum of what he can score.
Certainly a wide spectrum. I do think it's intriguing from a tournament sense, though. Probably SP2 on DraftKings in a tournament. Nothing really other than that.
No.
And Paul Clemens, no thanks.
Yep, I'll fade Paul Clemens all day. This Braves offense, I mean, against righties has actually been something I've been staying away from unless you're kind of above average to an elite arm, which Paul Clemens is not.
This Freddie Freeman guy, man, he's not bad.
No, not bad at all.
Someday he might be as good as Gary Sanchez. Someday.
Pirates and Cubs next here. Jason Hamill versus Ryan Vogelsong. Cubs minus 193 favorites. You get the Pirates projected for right around 3 runs. Hamill's been a guy who has been much better at home. And if I am going to be dropping down in cash to a second SP2 option outside of Gio, it'll be with Hamill.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Tough in terms of like everything's perfect for him. He's got all the environment is perfect. There's no reason for him to fail tonight, So as in like at the outside beyond him, like his offense, the offense he's going against, Vegas, everything. It's all looking good, but it's tough to trust him still. I love that price though. Super cheap. I think he is a borderline cash SP2 on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at him, and I mean, obviously allowing 9 earned runs in his last 2 starts at Coors, at LA, fine. I think those are acceptable places to kind of fail. But before that, very solid, and as we mentioned, I mean, at home he's been solid, under 2 ERA, much more consistent. I mean, strikeouts against the Pirates, he's averaging a strikeout per inning in 2 starts. I'm really okay with him, and I think if you need to get that extra couple bats in there, and you want to drop Gio down to him. I'm certainly fine with that.
Yeah, I agree.
As a mid-range GPP option on FanDuel, I don't hate it, but you are putting a little bit of strain on your bats. But I do think you can kind of pay off that price tag. I do think he has a shot at kind of 50 FanDuel points. I think that's a reasonable outcome for him tonight at his ceiling.
That's what I mean. I feel like there is a pretty reasonable ceiling tonight with, the matchup and everything set up for him. So I like it quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. And on the other side, I mean, Ryan Vogelsong, the Cubs offense has kind of been very mediocre of late. I mean, it's usually been one or two guys. I mean, as you kind of stated with the full stack, it was like, yeah, basically a lot of the production is coming from one to two guys, whether it's Brian Rizzo, you maybe get a back end guy like Contreras who does something, but projected for under 5 runs. I'm not looking at Vogelsong. I just still don't trust him at all. But I mean, as we kind of talked about, Cubs offense is kind of, you look at it and you want to like it more than you do.
Oh, it's gorgeous. That lineup is beautiful. I mean, and imagine if they had their catcher there. Their what's his name?
Schwarber.
Yeah, imagine if they had him the whole season. So yeah, whatever. I like them, but yeah, I'm not overpaying for them today necessarily in a ton of exposure type of way.
Cardinals and Brewers next here. Luke Weaver versus Matt Garza. Matt Garza is a guy who I'm not looking to use. This Cardinals offense continues to be very hit and miss. But Matt Garza is a guy who just poor right-hander that I can't trust, especially in that ballpark.
Yeah, so much for my Brandon Moss night, huh?
Yeah,
not even in the lineup. What the heck, man? That's such a good matchup for him. How are they going to just pull him yesterday?
It's Mike Matheny, moron.
I like this matchup again for Moss and Carpenter. Obviously, I mean, I think everyone does, but I think this is a great spot to sort of exploit him. So obviously, I'm not looking at Garza.
Yeah, I'm not either. I mean, as far as Luke Weaver on the other side, small favorite. You look at this Brewers offense. I mean, 25.7% strikeout rate against right-handers, 23rd in WOBA. Weaver's still a cheap option. The one thing that was odd, I mean, looking at his last starting match, 7 strikeouts against the A's, which on paper looks good, but just a 3.2% swinging strike rate during that game. Kind of odd.
Wow. So in a game he had 7, you said 7 strikeouts?
Yeah.
That's really strange, huh?
Yeah, and I mean, he doesn't miss a ton of bats either, just 8% in the 3 starts. So, I mean, while I certainly can see him having another 5+ strikeout game, I do think that even though he hasn't really shown a very low floor, that low floor is certainly still there.
Uh-huh.
Is anything to add to that?
No. Sorry, I had a yawn in there. So I guess the question would be who's worse against righties, the A's, who's worse against righties, the A's or the Brewers?
Well, I mean,
they're both really bad.
Both are bad in their own different ways, but I feel like the Brewers still have more power potential than the A's do.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. Certainly more upset with this Brewers offense. I still don't love Weaver. Nice pure punt though.
It is. It's still a punt play that I'll be viable in my lineups. I don't mind them. I may toss them with a Kluber and kind of see what I can do with it. But if I don't have to, I probably won't. But I don't mind them at the price, I think. But just know it's a boomer bust situation, in my opinion.
Certainly.
Yankees and Royals next year. Ian Kennedy versus Luis Sessa. Sessa's a guy I'm not really looking to use, even though he is cheap. Kennedy, I feel like, is overpriced, even though he is back at home where he does hit well. Or where he does pitch well, but Kennedy I feel like is just kind of overpriced. I'd rather kind of spin down.
So when I first looked at the slate, I looked at Ian Kennedy and I was like, oh, I really like this. And then as I kind of went through again, I was like, wait, I probably only like this because of the rest of the pitchers on the slate. And he's definitely overpriced. I still do like the matchup. I'm not quite as worried about Gary the Goat right now, because I just think he was on a super hot streak and he's probably cooling off right now. But overall, I mean, think back a month ago. Were we really that afraid of this Yankees team? Were they that I don't think they're a juggernaut still. So I'm okay with Kennedy here. I kind of like him quite a bit. I think he's a borderline cash option.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm in agreement that the Yankees are still not a juggernaut team to target. It was kind of like, oh, they got a little hot streak going. Gary Sanchez kind of helped Gardner and Ellsbury pick it up a little bit. Yeah. You had Castro, Gregorius had a couple of games. After that, it's still pretty mediocre in the back half of the lineup. I mean, obviously, you look at McCann, Headley, Judge, whoever else they toss in. It's just nothing really spectacular. And Kennedy has pitched really well in the second half and always has pitched well at home. I like it in GPPs. I like it as a swerve. As far as being cash, I probably won't be playing him.
That's fair.
So, And Seth's on the other side. I mean, I can't get behind him just because he's cheap in a decent ballpark, but I don't know. I'd rather take a lot of other options with some upside.
I agree.
Let's wrap things up with a pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all great tools and content.